So, so
Vitamin D, if you go into a physician, just for all of you listening here, it's common, right? And the reason it's common is because normal range on a lab is anywhere from 30 to 100. So you walk into your prescribing doctor and they'll say, "Oh, you're at a 33.5." That's normal, that's unremarkable. Everything looks good, right? And in my experience, especially with people who are, fighting off underlying infections or autoimmune or something of that sort, but even if somebody is remarkably healthy, if they're in the 30s, they feel like a walking zombie. So, for
yeah.
those of you that have old labs, you're welcome to go ahead and look at your labs. You don't need new ones. If you want to, if it's within the last 3 to 6 months, I should say. If you're wanting to know your vitamin D levels, then that's an easy one just to go and ask your physician for. But you want to be anywhere between 60 and 100, right? And a practicing physician may even be alarmed by that to be like, wait a minute, you're in the 70s. Whoa, that's extremely high, right? And have you walking out of their room, overly concerned about your vitamin D levels. But um, it it's a like I call it checking the boxes. Look at the foundation first before you start to go like squirrel, right? Like, oh, what about this shiny object and this, and all these, every which way and feeling fearful of everything. You're looking at the foundation, and that's exactly why you're all here. Is we got to pull back, look at your health from a 30,000 foot view, do the basics first. And, another basic that is worth mentioning is being hydrated, which, oh my gosh, I roll, nothing profound, right? But your cells need water to thrive. So if you're dehydrated sitting here today and you're saying, I don't know, if I feel the greatest or I'm not making progress, like check the boxes, and staying hydrated, drinking half your body weight in ounces per day is one of the most profound things that you can do for yourself because you have control over it. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It's easily accessible. And it's one of the most basic things that you can do to start allowing for your cells to thrive in the environment which you're trying to create. Okay. But the vitamin D, going back to that, so thrilled to hear that you're noticing some progress at least. Like you said, you're
Yeah.
like, I don't know if it's the thing, but what I can tell you, Randy, is very rarely is it one notable thing. Restoring your health oftentimes is a series of events that
Mhm.
compound over time. And that's why we tell you that throughout this process is to say, yes, sometimes people have those what we call miracle moments, like right out of the gates. Oh my gosh, week one, I have so much energy and I'm sleeping better and all these things. My pain's down, right? But that's because they didn't have as big of an iceberg underneath the ground level. Does that make sense? And for those of you who are taking a little bit more time, sometimes the human nature component of trying to help somebody heal, that gets a little bit like, oh, I'm not getting this instant, response. But you'll see people make comments, or maybe even you've experienced this yourself. You'll get to week like 8, 9, 10. I actually had one person the very last month of the whole program in phase 4. Okay, second week of phase 4, and she hung with us for that long because I was like, look at these incremental changes that are happening. Okay. Incremental changes turn into big, what we call wins or progress areas. And then that's when you have your miracle moment, right? Where it feels like it's overnight. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling better. Well, it's a deposit over time. And I can assure you what you're doing within this process with the supplementation, with the food, variety of different foods, with the strategic, like, fasting, if you're diving into that. Those are all basic foundational components to allowing for your cells to thrive in the environment in which you're trying to create. You have to allow for yourself to give the nutrients and targeted nutrients to the pathways necessary, but then also to give the cells what they need to thrive, and then give it more time. Because sometimes, that's the human nature component. There's the clinical and then the human nature. The clinical, you've got rock stars experts, you've got the most recent, information that you need in terms of resources. And then the human nature comes into play with your willingness. So that's why we always tell people it takes a willingness to learn, unlearn, and implement, and then give it time with a level of consistency to get the most out of this. That's where you're at. Okay. But that's where you get to lean into those people that have the knowledge that you need to continue moving forward. So a little bit of a soapbox there, but the vitamin D, I get fired up because sometimes people are like, what do I add? What do I delete? What do I add? Oh my gosh. And I'm like, are we doing the basics? Are we checking the boxes? We got to do the basics before we start going squirrel and looking for that shiny object. Okay. So, hopefully that helps not only Randy, but then, anybody else that's listening, and then also the recording, the people who watch this recording. I know it doesn't seem mind blowing, but if you do the basics, you're going to give yourself an opportunity to make some quick wins for sure. That's what we're doing. We're setting those little hinges, and those big doors will start to open here for many of you sitting here listening.